Hello and welcome to part 2 of the thermal camera series. In part 1, we tried several different materials to find out how well of a wall or barrier we can make to hide ourselves from thermal cameras. But at the end of the video, we asked the question, how could we hide from thermal cameras while we're actually wrapped up in blankets and that kind of thing? How well do blankets and sleeping bags, etc., actually keep our heat in? We're going to explore that in this video. But first, I wanted to show you guys something. Whoa. It's really starting to rain now. Better put on my hood. So here's the part that I thought was interesting. As you can see, it was pouring cats and dogs outside. It was torrential rain. But as you can see, the poncho is actually doing a fair to decent job at maintaining its ambient temperature. I mean, just look at the color of my poncho compared to the semi-trailer behind me. Now, also what I found very interesting is not only can you see the body heat from my face and my legs, my hands whenever I stick them out, but also the ground itself is quite warm. Now, it's clear to me that the camera is adjusting its contrast so that even minor differences of temperature can be seen. And if the various temperatures within the camera's field of view vary even wider, then it would adjust for that also. I really don't think that the asphalt under my feet in this shot are anywhere close to the same temperature as my body temperature. But nonetheless, it showed it as warm, especially when I turned my face away from the camera. Now, I know that I said that I wasn't going to open the space emergency blanket, but then I got to thinking, you know, I haven't seen anybody try sleeping under it the way it was intended to be used and see what it looks like underneath a thermal camera. So we're going to try that today. Now, you can pick these up just about anywhere, anywhere you get your sports and outdoor gear, say REI. I got this one from Bi-Mart. You can also pick them up on Amazon or eBay or wherever you do your online shopping. They're pretty much everywhere. It's just a space blanket. This one is made by a company called StanSport. It says that it's made of a polyester material designed from insulation used in space exploration. We're going to see what that looks like. It says that it's waterproof, windproof, that it will not crack, mildew, or shrink. Emergency protection in all weather conditions. It says that it retains 90% of body heat. We'll see what that looks like. It also says that the size is 84 inches by 54 inches. And I translated that. That comes out to 7 feet to, 7 feet by 4.5 feet. Or for everyone who speaks metric out there, that's 2.13 meters by 1.37 meters. Let's take a look at what this looks like outside of the package. Get rid of that. Looks like a big piece of folded up tinfoil. Oh, okay. It comes out like this. And makes an awful lot of noise here. Yes, so visually it looks like a big gigantic piece of tinfoil, I think. Except I'm noticing that optically I can kind of see through it. Although there's a little bit of tint to it. I don't know if I can get this on camera. we'll take a look, see if you can see through it. And you cannot see through it, but you know, you'll have to take my word for it. You can't see through it through the camera, but I can definitely see other light sources through it fairly well, actually. I'm noticing as I put my hand against it that it feels kind of warm, but we'll see what it does when I sleep under it. So I'm going to have the camera set up all through the night. I'm going to sleep under it, underneath the blanket. And then first thing in the morning, all I'm going to do is turn on the camera and get right back underneath this thing. It should be all warmed up like I've been sleeping in it, because I had been. We'll see what it looks like. My first impressions sleeping underneath this piece of tinfoil was that it feels really strange. Crawling into it right away, I kind of felt like well, I can feel the heat reflecting back to me, but it's also very drafty. So I could feel cold air as well as my reflected heat. As we look at the thermal imagery, you can see here that the material itself seems to be staying quite cool, except for the very near top, where most of my body heat is accumulating. I'm also noticing at this point that where the blanket is heating up, it's only heating up about as much as, say, the area underneath my bed and some of the other areas inside the cab of my truck. But overall, I would say that the space blanket is doing a fantastic job at disguising me from thermal imagery. What very little heat signature can be derived from the picture, there's no way of telling that it's a human being. It could be anything. Now, before I end this segment, I wanted to point out something that I thought was pretty neat about this camera. Something that kind of supports my theory at the beginning of this video. As soon as I uncover in bed and expose my body heat in front of the camera, you notice how everything above and below my bed suddenly changed colors, exhibiting a cooler temperature. I thought that was really neat because it shows that it changes the sensitivity of the camera based on the range of temperatures in front of the camera. That's important to remember for later on. So tonight I'm going to be sleeping under the Arcturus emergency blanket. If you haven't seen my earlier episode, what this is basically just a camouflage blanket, but the trick is inside it's shiny and you can use it to reflect the body heat back to you, just like an emergency blanket, except it's camouflage on the outside. And it does come in many other colors. I'm actually really curious to see how well this is going to perform. Let's check it out. So for this blanket, I'm going to speed up the video quite a bit, just so that you can get a feel for the gradual changes in temperature that the blanket went through the night. The first thing I'm noting right off the bat is that I didn't seem to get my entire self under the blanket the entire time. That is actually pretty typical for the way I sleep, and I think it might even be typical for the way most people sleep. But with what we're trying to accomplish here, that might actually be very detrimental. Something to think about. We have to keep ourselves completely covered up in order to successfully hide from anyone seeking us with thermal vision. The next thing that I'm really noticing here is that my body temperature is heating up the blanket a lot more than the first blanket did. And as before, it doesn't really look like a human figure underneath the blanket, but it does show a heat signature. Now, of course, at this point, it would be up to the eye of the beholder to decide what that object is. It could be a wild animal. It could be a person under a blanket. It's hard to say. But I do want to say that this blanket is not performing quite as well as the first one did. And so there you have it. The completely shiny, very visible during the daytime emergency blanket, the real thin one, the one that looked like aluminum foil, that one performed remarkably well. I was actually really pleased with it. The Arcturus one, honestly, I had hoped better, especially considering it had a camouflage exterior that would hide me optically as well as thermally, but it turned out thermally, not so much. Then again, it is a whole lot better than nothing at all. And like I said earlier, it does kind of at least hide your shape. It kind of made me look like a warm rock, I think. We'll go with a warm rock, okay. So if you're hiding in thermal or geothermal volcanic activity areas, then maybe this is your go-to. Maybe get one of the ones in a different color like tan or gray. They also have bright day glow orange ones if you're interested in that kind of thing. If your goal is to be found, that is. As for everything else, well, I'm up for ideas. I did notice right away that with my various body parts, my arms and legs sticking out from the blankets, that I'm completely unshielding myself from, my heat signature, and therefore anyone with one of these cameras could easily see me. So if it's a warm night and I'm trying to stay hidden, it's not going to be easy. Trying to contain my heat, and it's already hot outside, that's going to be a chore. But I have some other ideas in mind, and I hope that you're going to come along with me for the ride. I'll tell you what, I will post a video every, once in a while. I can't promise when, but I can promise that I want to revisit the thermal camera thing from time to time, every time I get an idea. Matter of fact, I think I have an idea coming up right about now. I got it. How about we try to see just what a simple tent will do? Just a tent. We'll start simple, maybe a one-person tent, see if that can hide a heat signature, and maybe later we'll experiment with a two-person tent, see if two people makes more body heat, and see if that makes the whole tent glow or something. I think we're onto something. It might be effective because it is separated, it's a wall separated from the body heat. But then again, just like we saw with the blankets, if we warm up the blanket, if we warm up the tent wall, then that might mess with it a little bit. It'll be interesting to find out what happens. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.